Well, the lies were exposed and Trump has seen how this scandal has rocked his poll numbers. He rang Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a Democrat, to talk peace, and it seems that they've agreed that Trump may remove some of the ICE agents and Walz will stop a campaign of opposition to them. But the biggest sign of retreat is that Trump has sidelined Kristi Noem and appointed his border czar, Tom Honan, to take over in Minnesota instead. He says Honan will report directly to him, Trump, and not Noem, who I think seems destined for the sack. Joining me is Sean Spicer, Donald Trump's first White House spokesman. Sean Spicer, great to see you again. The shooting of Alex Pritty, that seems to me both a tragedy and a disaster for the White House, which has been, it's all been made worse by the lies that Kristi Noem told about it. It now seems that Donald Trump sees that too and is sidelining Noem. How bad is this?
Well, there's a few things. It's not good. You're absolutely right. I mean, the idea of Americans waking up and seeing on their television screens for the second time in a couple of weeks an American being killed is not a great image. And the finger pointing, in this situation just it doesn't help the White House. The idea of trying to figure out who to cast blame, and the individual themselves could be 100% wrong. It's just still not a good image of an American dying on a street. But there's a couple factors at play here. Number one, why is Minneapolis happening the way it is, but other cities aren't? And that's one of the questions that I think Caroline Leavitt addressed today at the White House briefing, but most people should ask, why is it the case that New Orleans or Memphis or Washington, D.C. aren't having the same problems? They're all run by Democrats as well. The difference is, yes, they are sanctuary cities to some degree, but they're also cooperating with ICE. Minneapolis has gone out of its way to say, we don't want to work with you, and that's created this additional tension, these additional problems, these additional loopholes for the federal officials going after the criminals. That being said, them coming out and sort of gaslighting the American people, as you noted with Kristi Noem, the way she did, is not helping create trust or accountability or understanding as to what the real goal is. And Trump sending out Tom Homan was absolutely the right move here. And let me just say why. When you look at Tom Homan, he is a man who President Obama gave our nation's highest award to. He is a recognized law enforcement man. He spent years as a beat cop in New York City and decades as a federal agent. He has the bona fides and the credibility to go out and address the issues of ICE and detainment and going after criminals in a very sort of professional way, one that, frankly, Kristi Noem lacks.
Well, that's very interesting. What does it say about Kristi Noem? Is she finished then in the long term? I mean, it's quite extraordinary how Tom Honan has been put in charge of essentially her operation. I mean, she's the ultimate say in it. But now this Tom Homan is going to be reporting directly to Donald Trump, as the president himself said, made very clear.
Yeah, look, first of all, let's just to fill your viewers on a little palace intrigue. There had been rumors of a lot of tension between Homan and Noem for quite some time. Homan, as I said, is a well-established law enforcement guy who's got strong bona fides dealing with the border, immigration, customs enforcement, that whole deal. So for him, this is in his wheelhouse. Noem, yes, she was a governor, but she's no law enforcement experience, no border experience. I mean, the DHS secretary deals with a lot. They've got the Coast Guard, TSA, all of these various entities, the Secret Service, under their purview. It's a big managerial job. But when it comes to the actual border, Tom Homan is the right guy to be addressing this. And I think the president, not only in the tweet that he sent out this morning, acknowledging that Tom would be going, but made it very clear, this is something that didn't get a lot of attention, Andrew. He said Homan, who hasn't been involved up till yet, it was almost to say Homan's got clean hands. He can go in and be an honest broker, an honest agent, whereas Noem had sort of created some tension and some concern about her previous statements going back to Renee Good's incident in Minneapolis just a few days prior to that. So I think the reason that he sent Homan in is to be that honest broker, a guy with credentials. But also, one of the things that I talked about earlier today in the U.S. that was interesting to see the president deal with is making this deal. As I said at the outset, the reason that that ICE is having this situation is that law enforcement refuses to cooperate in Minneapolis. So if they know somebody's in their jail and is a criminal, they won't tell ICE. If they know that they get somebody wrapped up in an arrest and they're illegal, they won't tell ICE. And what I think the president needed to do, and he clearly was making that overture today with Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, was to say, how about we come to a deal? You work with our guys to go after known criminals, people that are in your city, in your state, that have criminal records, and we will back off doing what we had to because you wouldn't work with us in the first place. If they can both agree to that, I think the temperature gets taken down, ICE gets to continue doing what it's doing. Walz gets a victory by seeing thousands of these agents probably leave Minneapolis, and he can claim a political victory as well.
I find it extraordinary, and I'm sure these two shootings have played a huge role in this, that an issue, immigration, that has been Donald Trump's big success, the big popularity thing for him, has turned into a huge negative, according to the latest Reuters poll. It's just, how could it happen? And this feeds into his fall in the polls generally, of course, is a big driver of it, it seems. And that's with the midterm elections for Congress coming up in November. How are those elections looking now for Donald Trump? How worried would he be?
Well, I'd be worried just because of the closeness of both the House and the Senate. And that's why I think he's doing the right thing today. But a couple interesting notes on this. When you talk about that Reuters poll, there's something that really interestingly jumped out to me. When you ask people in America how they feel about Donald Trump's job on securing the border, he gets very high marks. When you get about addressing immigration, it's now minus 17. And people have begun to bifurcate the two issues. Yes, I want you to secure the border, and you're doing a great job there. But once it comes to the interior issue of illegal immigration, people in our cities and states, I think what's happening in Minneapolis is driving a negative image of the president's actions. That's why I think, again, reminding people what they're doing and who they're going after, as they have in New Orleans, Memphis, Washington, D.C., is critical for the president. He can get back on that message real quick. But at the end of the day, what's really going to drive the midterm elections is going to be the economy. And every outlook that I've seen in Q2 and Q3 of next year, which is early to late summer, when the American people will be making up their minds who they're voting for. If the economy is strong, Andrew, and firing on all cylinders, the Republicans will get reelected. If the economy is sputtering, inflation is a problem, they won't. I think the investments that the president has made legislatively, policy-wise, the big, beautiful bill, no tax on tips, foreign direct investment in the United States, will pay off at the right time. And that's the big hope and bet that they've made, and I think it'll pay off.